Tashara, I'll go back to the point you made just a second ago, that this is a stadium a lot of people that live in the city won't even be able to afford to go inside of. The Post-Dispatch ran a piece just a couple of days ago talking about the design of the stadium. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, saying that the newest plans show a clear turn, says David Hahn in the Post-Dispatch, talking about the design. The proposed stadium, viewed by some as elitist and wasteful, has become an arena for the people. Is that important? We're talking about trails and the spaces around it and other amenities that, and there's a large plan for the whole North Riverfront that is tied into this stadium design. We're still talking about disposable income in the pockets of people who live within the city limits and who live within the region, in my opinion, who won't be able to afford to go to games unless it was like the 2000 season where you could find Rams tickets at the gas station, which isn't going to happen. And if St. Louis is such an NFL town, then why aren't all of the games sold out? Like Oakland, for example. Oakland fans and Dallas fans, they're like a cult, and they go to football games whether they're winning or losing. But the Rams have been losing since 2000, since the last Super Bowl, and the stadium's half empty most of the time. Of course, this will also bring, tell me this, 2,500, there are several constructed, some could view this as a jobs program.
Well, I think that's a reason to do it. 3,000 construction jobs and the minority participation they're putting together. The task force gave the construction companies, they wanted it to be the best of any stadium ever built. But let me say this about having an NFL team. I've seen the polling data. It is counterintuitive. The biggest group of people who like and want an NFL team in St. Louis are African Americans under the age of 50. They cannot afford, a lot of them, some of them can, but a lot of them can't afford to go to the games. But they like having a team. They like watching their team on television. They like talking about it on 101. So whether we like it or not, if we want an NFL team, the price of having an NFL team is having a place for them to play. But a lot of people who don't go to the games want to have an NFL team in St. Louis and enjoy having football.
So don't get me wrong. I'm a football fan. I've done fantasy football, won in a league full of guys 2 years in a row. So.
You're doing well here tonight.
Right. How did I bankroll you? You run my team.
Yeah, however, I just have to look at this from a fiscally responsible point of view, and I agree. If we don't have all those things in place that you said before, then of course it's a bad deal.
But there's two. I could go through. I have a mountain of data here, but let me go through. But let me go through 2 data points. Number one is in the last deal, the city put up 25%, and there was 0 private money. This time it'll be 60% private money, and the city's down to 15%. That's important. Secondly, the Rams are the only entity, only business in the city that pays a 5% ticket tax. That 5% ticket tax generates enough revenue that will end up being about half of the city's contribution just on that ticket tax. Now, does that work if it's 25%? No. It works because it's 15%. The details matter. This time, unlike last time where we just built the stadium and had the worst lease ever. The mayor's drawn a line here. Dave Peacock and Bob Blitz have drawn a line here, and they have not said, oh, no matter what it costs, we're going to have a team. They've said the city's drawn the line at 15%. The state's drawn the line at 25%. Without $600 million in private money, it doesn't happen.
So there's an important point, Jeff, that you've made, and I think it is of interest to everyone, is who pays and how. But there are 2 points I want to make. One is, Jeff's analogy of the church inspired me. So I've looked at this as like we support all kinds of things in the city, right? So we give $20 million a year, I think, to the zoo, right, through the zoo museum district. Yeah. So imagine if the zoo was $200 a person to get in and it was open 8 days a year. That's absurd. It's insane. So thinking of football as like something that people get to enjoy and attend as an amenity in terms of visitors or excitement and fun in the same way that we subsidize other things doesn't really work. One of the other things you hit on was the revitalization of the riverfront. And I think all we have to do is take a walk around the current stadium. It's been sitting there 20 years. All the same rhetoric was used when it was built. We're revitalizing downtown. It's urban. It's going to excite this district. It's going to revitalize the landing. Since then, we've spent $500,000, which is it's going to cost us $700 million to pay for the current stadium. That investment, there's a $500 million casino. We're redoing the arch grounds. The arch itself was built. The landing's not doing well. To think that another stadium is somehow going to fill the vacant lots and do what past promises haven't done. Alec, people are saying that. I'm not saying you're saying that.
I'm saying that we're
listen, all the videos, all the promotional material is revitalize, connect the city, weave it into the urban fabric. none of it's true. It's a way to sell kind of a middle zone
but no, that is
on the
not
idea
what
that
they're
it's going to work.
Mischaracterizing what
Hold on,
they're
the last thing though is who pays. And what's very important is it's verbatim. It's verbatim. It's literally the way it's being sold.
They said it would revitalize
the other thing
that
that's important, and it won't. The current stadium hasn't revitalized its neighborhood, and it's had 20 years to do it. It doesn't work in St. Louis. It doesn't work in other cities. We can look at other stadiums.
We should take
But the
people down
important
at the
thing, and the
riverfront
thing
and
where
show
you
it.
have an
We should show
important
them
point to make
pictures.
is who pays for the stadium. And it is important to look at St. Louis and see that the deal as it stands on the table is better than a lot of cities are getting right now. And it's a difficult road because the NFL holds all the chips. It's a monopoly. They get to play cities off each other. So the deal that presumably Jeff has helped put together, is helping promote, isn't a bad deal in terms of the landscape of getting an NFL team. And it very well may be this is the price for it, and we use hotel taxes, and we use state money, and we use a lot of private money in the seat licensing and things like that, and we get it done. And in that case, there's a dollar amount that everyone can support, I think. And there's a small fraction that say no public money at all. I think there's a huge middle ground that says maybe it's 100 million, maybe it's 200, but it's not 600. And right now we're at 388 million, I think, in public money.
Well, I mean,
and it may not be a bad deal.
Okay, now the point you're making, I understand. But when we talk about this adjacency issue, and you're talking about it won't do anything for downtown, why is it, and I think you'd probably be included, I was one who said, could somebody explain to me why the stadium has to go downtown? Why does the stadium have to go there? Why can't the stadium go in St. Louis County? Why can't the stadium go someplace else? Yeah. And everybody says, oh, because it will do this and it will do that. And that's pretty much why the stadium it is going where it's going. And nobody refutes that. Now, meanwhile, the county's not voting, and I live in St. Louis County, and like we said, I thought it would pass in the city. I don't know what would have happened in the county, but I think it would have passed in the city, but the people in the city weren't allowed to give a vote. Yeah. To take the county out of the financial picture, to me, is absurd.
Right.
Now, are we going to pay a surtax to use the stadium? I don't get that.
Here's why it's not. The county was out of the deal in the beginning for one reason only, is that we also need to make improvements to our convention center. And I think what people have in mind is that the governor had in mind, I'll just speak for the governor, and I agreed with him. He did not go to see the county executive to say, put your money into the stadium without a vote. That was a mischaracterization. He said, can I get you to agree to extend the hotel motel tax to make some investments in the convention center? And that's what is being discussed. I mean, the county was out of this deal a long time ago, in large measure because the mayor, and other people said, not only do we need a new stadium, but we also need to make some investments in the convention center, and extending the hotel motel tax in St. Louis County was a way that we were looking at it, and the governor agreed.
Let me add, we're just about a minute left. So let me just go looking ahead a little bit. We still have Senator Rob Schaaf and others who are still, they've lost in court, but they're still threatening in the legislature to not fund the public bonds that would therefore be the public money that goes into this.
You may be against the stadium, but you shouldn't listen to anything these folks out there got to say, all right? Because you talk about some hypocritical nonsense, especially the ones from St. Joseph and Kansas City, who wanted every dime they could get.
But you also read it, and it clearly, there's so much wiggle room in it, and they say things like not a dollar until the current stadium's paid off, and we have all kinds of ways to fund that, and there's more revenue if it becomes a convention center exclusively, and we can show that that's a positive balance, and there's a lot of room.
Senator Schaaf wants to be the congressman from Western Missouri and beating up on St. Louis.
All right, we'll leave it there. We'll give you the final word on that one right there. Thanks for all of your time. Jeff Rainford, Alvin Reed, Tashara Jones, and Alex Enan, and thank you for joining us with the hashtag Stay Tuned STL. We'll see you next week.